The Russian flag flew over the Reichstag in Berlin, yet still the Kaiser refused to surrender. Over 10 million men had fallen on the Ostfront, or were kept in Russian POW camps across the vast landscape of the former Reichspakt. The war was over. The only question remaining was how many more lives the German and Austrian leadership were willing to throw away. Von Manstein's counter-offensive had failed, and the last remnants of the armed forces had surrendered in the Carpathian mountain cauldron, or more often fallen asleep in the harsh winter conditions from lack of supplies and exhaustion. Admiral Wegener, head of the Kaiserliche Marine, had to report damage to German ships in port due to Russian air attacks, and was facing a mutiny from his resistance towards calls for surrender. The people in German cities, emerging from the rubble, were met by Russian soldiers with reserved kindness, and the distribution of food and fuel among the civilians was organized rapidly to avoid a famine in the icy conditions. Germany had lost the Second Weltkrieg and its place in the sun. Their eyes were cast towards an uncertain future. With the fall of Berlin, German resistance has all but collapsed. We've got General Casagrandi's Second Army in the lines now, just arrived, has to reorganize. And we've got the Sixth Army under Stefan ready and operational on the front lines for the final push into the German heartland. And then it just becomes a question of for how much longer do they choose to resist. I have changed the template of the light tank divisions and actually given them mechanized infantry as well as motorized artillery. So they are waiting for equipment to arrive. We've also got the support of Shatilov's Ninth Army, where some troops are still underway, ready for Operation Downfall and the final assault into Germany and the end of the Reichspakt. Austria, or the Austro-Hungarian Greater States of, the United States of Greater Austria is what they're called today, are about to fall. I think once Budapest, let's see how far along they are. Yeah, once Budapest falls, that'll be the end of it. So we can simply launch the assault on Budapest from all directions here. I think we are ready troop-wise, so that should not be a problem. And we'll be assaulting it from the south as well. So from all directions, we'll take Budapest, and then I think the United States of Greater Austria are going to capitulate, and we'll see how that goes from there. I have actually assigned at this point railway guns. This means that they will potentially go and take the marine routes as they are wont to do, which is why I usually don't do this, but we are at this point that I think we can take that, especially that we have the Baltic Fleet, the Baltic Fleet, there we go, moving into Königsberg to support operations on land, and to see if we can catch the remnants of the German High Seas Fleet, or if they are simply going to surrender at the end of the war. We've got 2 naval bomber wings doing bombing operations along the German coast against the fleet in harbor, and as such, we have a relatively good idea that I think they were in Rostock mostly, where we have sunk a few things or damaged so far. So that is the final push. We're also having a naval operation ready for the assault into Middle Africa and ending that war after we have taken, Elizabethville has been taken. And with that, I think we are here as well pretty much done with the mopping up. Once we invade Windhoek, I think Middle Africa is going to surrender. Now, that is not the last member of the Reichspakt. South Africa still has joined. But I think the liberation of the Central African states from colonial oppression is going to come after that relatively quickly as well. And India is making headway into German East Asian occupied lands, although the main German East Asian position still stands. And Japan is still fighting a bloody war in China. Actually, do we know how much? Yeah, they still have reserves. So the Japanese Empire is still running its imperial ambitions on the Asian mainland, and that is a separate theater, however. For now, the main goal is to liberate Eastern Europe, and for that we will march into Germany once all the troops are in position and the tank divisions have been reorganized. In the meantime, we will be assaulting Budapest, and I have to check. Okay, these we're actually sending back. I have to check how far along we are with the planning operation. We need 21 days. Okay, so we will also be doing an invasion of the last remaining position in Rio Muni, the island off the coast, just to clear that out, and from there on we'll be moving on. But I think did I have additional troops in the? I thought I had additional troops ready. Which ones were they? Not these ones. Where have I assigned these right now? Oh yeah, because we had to bring the troops back to the north again. I think what we can do is we can simply where were the supply positions? Oh, these were the supply hubs. Yeah, we're actually too far forward from the supply positions already at this point. What we can do is we can get these troops here. Where's the rest of them? We're getting a few. Oh yeah, no, these I have actually sent over to reinforce the lines here. Yes, so I have done this. Sorry, it's been a while since I've recorded the last episode, but I've sent some divisions over so they can replace the Marines in these positions once they arrive. And I think we can actually assign a few more to that while we're at it. Okay, so that'll take a while. So right now the focus is on Budapest, where I think we will be very rapidly. We'll just assault this from all directions. And Drozdowski's troops are leading the assault against the last desperate defenders and Germans on the German side under General Haase, and then we will have that completed. We did another port strike on Rostock, and yes, we know that they're here. We've done some damage to the König, to the Scharnhorst, and the Admiral Henk. Scharnhorst and König obviously are battleships. Scharnhorst slightly newer and has started to take some damage. I am not entirely. Admiral Henk is an older cruiser from the last Weltkrieg. So there is a respectable amount of ships in position here, and we will see if we can manage to. Going to bring them to we're bringing the fleet into the Baltic, and we'll see if the Germans will sally forth from their port positions. So we can dismiss that, and we do actually have a good amount of political power. So I think while we are waiting, we can assign a few more medals, especially to the armored forces, which have been fighting valiantly. Stefan's light tanks have been in this battle since the very beginning, so we will be awarding a few medals. I think the Hero of the Republic for organization is not a bad idea for the tank divisions, so let's give out a few of those while we're at it. Now that we have the reduced price for the reduced cost for awarding medals, so. That should be okay. They already have one. I'll go through and award a few along the tank divisions, and probably a few more for the special forces, especially 12th Army doesn't actually have any, but they have fought valiantly. But especially for Ungen Sternberg's 5th as well. Okay, orders of the Heroes of the Republic have been distributed, and with that. I think Budapest is about to fall. Troops are moving in from all sides. We've overrun some of the defenders who have simply surrendered. And I think, they have still retreated towards Graz. But yeah, I think they're about to. The government has retreated, but I think they're about to capitulate. While we are doing additional damage against the shipping in Rostock. And we're still sinking the occasional convoy in foreign territories. But so far it has been. So far we will have to see if we can manage to bring the fleet out. The second reserve fleet is still being spotted by our scout planes, but so far they haven't. These are just a few destroyers for operating out of Visby, presumably. They haven't set sail, so we will be. We'll see if we can manage to catch them on patrol and tease out a final sortie from the High Seas Fleet. The United States of Greater Austria have officially signed the papers of capitulation and have handed over the remaining equipment to Russia. Vladimir III has announced that the nation could no longer withstand the pressure. The war against what remains of the Reichspakt continues elsewhere, but however, this is a great victory for all of the Moscow Accord. And we have gotten some advancements for a self-propelled super heavy howitzer. So that's let me check that and see how far we are. We are at we've got some operational insights. We're at 74% of the Sviatogor land cruiser project. So that'll eventually come to pass as well. We have a few more facilities that we honestly don't really need at this point, so they will remain unmanned. But Greater Austria has capitulated. And we will see what will happen to Italy when the eventual peace conference will happen. But a lot of German troops that had been deployed along the lines here will have to be mopped up. So we are going to move in with the available troops from the south and clear those out. Those last pockets of resistance here, which obviously is going to cause a little bit of chaos along the front lines, but that's nothing new. So we'll just deal with the remaining Germans. We'll see if we can cut off their retreat we can cut off their retreat near Linz, and make sure that they are not getting out. So we're pushing back the one of the last of the German armored divisions, the 3rd Panzer, and then we'll be dealing swiftly with any remaining troops here that have been cut off, and the rest of them. All the infantry will move in. We've got plenty of troops available to us, and we will be making a quick end to forcing the surrender of these forces. In the north, near Pilsen, same story. We have some operational clearing to do of the remaining front lines, and the light tanks have been resupplied with the new equipment. It looks like the German fleet is not eager to leave their ports. So that means that where's the fleet at this point? Okay, we're actually out in the North Sea at this stage, and we are hunting for the enemy. But so far, it seems none of the German ships actually will set sail, and as such will be refused a final victory in that regard. But either way, the Russian Navy at this stage is going to be an essential part for the post-war order, in which obviously power projection out of the Moscow Accord is going to be a significant factor. Naval engineers have completed, and we get some research bonus. That might actually not be a terrible idea just to go for these. I mean, again, this is sort of for the post-war focuses, but we don't need any of these. One thing we can do is complete the naval doctrine of combined operations rating. That gives us additional organization. The rest not too important, but additional organization for the ships is a good way to go about it. The rest of the trees is pretty much complete. So we are clearing out the last remnants, and we will now set in motion once more the armored forces, where the light and heavy tanks of the 6th are simply going to move ahead and push towards Rostock, drive out the fleet from their last hideouts, and see if they are willing to give battle. We'll be driving forwards towards Hamburg and towards Hanover, where the southern flank is going to move pretty much along the front lines towards Hanover as well. And all tanks are operational. In the south, we're moved towards Erfurt through effectively at this stage pretty much undefended German lines. There's still a little bit of opposition in the south near Chemnitz, where foreign troops actually are trying to cause some trouble. But we will simply counterattack them and deal with them accordingly. Pilsen is about to fall, which means that the rest of Shatilov's 9th can move into southern Germany towards Strasbourg. The capital the government has moved to Essen. The Kaiser had been evacuated, and his current whereabouts are unknown. So we will have to see where and when he will reemerge. But we are dealing with the last encircled remnants here of enemy forces that will make a quick end to operations in Europe. The old Egyptian destroyers sailing under Russian flag are going to be activated once more, and we are going to take the island here, which I think is going to make a quick end to. I don't know if there's any opposition here, but just to make sure that there's nothing left. So a quick end to enemy forces in the area. A bit of a pushback along the lines here after our Marines have moved, while the rest of the supporting forces is still underway. But it looks like we have, in general, pretty much at this point cleared the area. So we'll push back the last remaining forces here out, and then I think we are in a good position. So in the north, we've got pockets of resistance of German troops that are being eradicated, while along the northern flank here, the armored forces are moving into Germany effectively without resistance at this point. So slight counterattacks from desperate troops, but the tanks are making their way towards Hamburg, and from there we will take Bremen as well. There's generally very little in terms of organized resistance. We're effectively running over enemy troops here at this point, and just have to make sure that the infantry is catching up, and that we're not letting left behind anywhere. Shatilov, I think himself, he can take the infantry expert. That is actually more of a combined arms leader, but has turned out to be more of an infantry leader out of necessity. So his guards divisions are moving into the German southern flank, and we will be bringing them in towards the area. I think we can also begin organizing some of the remaining forces in the south here that are not necessarily needed elsewhere. For example, do we want the 5th Army? Yeah, we don't want remove the 5th Army from their glory. So we are going to place the 5th Army south, and they will move and take southern Germany. So we'll get these troops to move into position while the rest of the forces is advancing along all the lines. Quick look into Africa and to see if we have indeed taken the island. So that operation has been successful, which means that we can now we need 7 more days. So once that operation is done, then we can make a move. We have actually We have actually sunk a submarine as part of our operations. But other than that, I think right now the scouting force is trying to locate a German task force in the North Sea, and we will see if we can catch them. We have sunk a Swedish destroyer, so it seems that no, they're still operational in the area. So we will see if we can get them to emerge. Kiel under pressure, so we'll get the light tanks to move north towards the Danish border, and see that we can secure the positions here and wipe out the last German resistance. Infantry is taking a little bit longer to catch up, so we do have to be a bit careful that the tanks are not outrunning their lines here. But in general, yeah, there is effectively no further resistance, and once the mountain troops have made their way across the Alps, they will join the battle in the south. But in the meantime, the northern forces are already advancing. Infantry is pushing against fading and mostly ineffectual resistance of the German forces. So let's make further advances into the heartland. We've already overrun most of central Germany at this point, and we are looking at clearing out the north against mild resistance here. Enemy forces have been pushed back towards the Danish border pretty much, and that was that. We've caught 5 German destroyers, and we have sunk them without losses on our side. So that would have been the first naval engagement and the first success for the Baltic Fleet. But now we are looking at locating another German group in the North Sea that may be more interesting. We will see about that. Okay, we've actually seen combat off the Iberian coast. So it seems that the High Seas Fleet has been withdrawn to the Iberian theater. And here we've got a few more German troops that have been trapped. So we do need to wipe these out, but that should be a quick operation. Mountaineers is still moving into place. Meanwhile, we are moving off elsewhere. So I'm going to keep a bit of an eye on the... Okay, there we go. We've caught a few more German destroyers that were hunting some Russian submarines operating in the area, and they as well will be destroyed very quickly by the Russian forces. We have lost the Vitebsk. She's been hit by a torpedo. Very unlucky, but the Ismail is drawing first blood on our side against the Valentin Schlieper that has been hit by one of her main guns, and I think with that the German destroyer group is going to be eradicated rather quickly, unless some of them can make their way out. But I don't think they will escape. They will escape the fire from our ships. I'm in the Admiral Menshikov. I think that was one of my light cruisers. That's the Admiral. Yeah, the Admiral Menshikov. That was one of the. She's already sunk 2 enemy destroyers with her guns. So these light cruisers are destroyer killers, and meant to deal with these. Relatively quickly. So once again, a victory in the North Sea, and at the loss of the Vitebsk, I think lead ship of her class, if I'm not mistaken, we have sunk 12 enemy destroyers and had a successful hunting operations. We've got a few ships that are reasonably damaged, however, and apparently we've brought a few submarines along. That wasn't quite the intention. So I'm gonna get these into Atlantic operations. They're not they're not meant for fleet hunting, and we should have, there should be 2 destroyers. Yeah, we've got 2 destroyers that will be brought to the fleet, and then we will be making sure that repairs are enacted before we risk the sinking of any further ships. Morocco has joined the Entente, so sides are being taken clearly, and the troops have arrived. The mountain divisions are arriving at the front lines in the Alps. So we'll immediately begin combat operations northwards to cut off and destroy enemy forces here. We are seeing a few more German divisions now in the south that presumably are trying to defend against further incursions, but the northern front has completely collapsed. I think Wilhelmshaven still stands, but the rest of the front lines is completely overrun here, and Wilhelmshaven has fallen as well. We have stolen the proximity fuse, so we found some. We found something. This is what I was talking about, right? If you assign railway guns to armies, they will, even though you are perfectly controlling the land area, they will ship them. So they will just be shipped no matter what you do. We can probably at this point get the naval bomber wings because they have nothing else to hunt here. We'll get them back onto training missions for now. I don't think we'll see much of the German high seas fleet still. So we'll be after we've cleared out situations here. We're bringing the fleet into port for repairs of the somewhat of the battle damage that we've taken. But all in all, I think the Ismail, who's got the most kills here. Let's see, the Ismail. I'll see if I can figure that out at the very end when we do a fleet review. But it seems that a few more enemy ships are operating now in the Bay of Biscay, probably out of the Spanish ports. We could try to we could sail out of Britain. So once the repairs are enacted, then we might still be able to clear out a few further things there. All right, the naval landings are underway, I think. Are they? Yeah. So we are shipping out for landing operations near Windhoek, and that should conclude the African operations relatively quickly. We do have apparently transport lanes through the Mediterranean. We might have to deal with that at some point. But for now, I think we'll just move through the Alps, clear out the rest, and make sure that Ungarn Sternberg takes Munich, as is his prerogative as the leader of these divisions. We've got a few more troops near Salzburg. We have a few Russian troops now in occupied territory that are just simply given rest because we don't need as many troops on the front lines. We do, however, have some trouble with resistance. In the Mongolian territory. So that's something we actually need to deal with. So where is that resistance? East Turkestan. Yeah, that's on civilian oversight. So resistance target 26% is fine actually. I might just leave it on civilian. 26% is fine. That should reduce itself relatively quickly. So now we just have to clear out the remnants here, and then we'll advance further. And so far, the fleet record is actually held by one of the Ismail-class battleships, the Kinborn. I have no idea how to pronounce that. She has sunk 3 destroyers, followed by the Admiral Menshikov, with an Admiral Ushakov class cruiser, which is, well, purpose-built for that kind of thing. As well as, where's the other one? The Admiral Golitsyn, which also has sunk to enemy destroyers. Unfortunately, it seems the High Seas Fleet has fled rather than to give battle. But such is the fate of things. And yeah, all the railway guns decide that they want to go by sea. Meanwhile, we are approaching the enemy capital of Essen, where the German government has been last reported. We've got the 13th heavy tanks taking Dortmund without resistance. So we'll bring in some more supporting forces once the lines have been cleared and the infantry has caught up. But I want to take a quick look at the Windhoek situation in the south, where we are about to make landfall. So let's see if there are any further defenders in the area. There is a naval invasion in India happening. So yeah, that might be some troops from Ceylon, which are trying some last-ditch efforts, honorable, trying to maintain their honor before the whole war is over. So any naval combat in the North Sea is something I want to keep an eye on. Okay, some of our transports are being hunted. Yeah, these are this exactly is why I don't generally assign these, because they tend to get sunk at sea. But let's see how this looks, how this is going to end up. So Munich has fallen, and with that where is it here? The 60th mountain under Ungensternberg will immediately be awarded. They already have the Order of St. George and the Battle Merit Medal. So they're going to get the Order of Suvorov as well. And straddling the banks of the Isar River, north of the Bavarian Alps, the city of Munich is the seat of the Bavarian administration, a center of art, sciences, architecture, and culture. Under the reign of Prince Regent Luitpold, the city saw an explosion of artistic and cultural activity. However, it had come under siege in recent conflict, and after an exhausting battle, the German forces have evacuated the city. With the fall of Munich, the fall of southern Germany will come soon, and in fact, the fall of the whole Reichspakt, to be honest. So with that, we do have to keep a quick eye on the landing operation here before we make any further northwards pushes, because we've got the 212th and 214th operating independently, which means we're actually not controlling the port. So we're sending the 214th north to secure the port, and we're sending the 212th on a direct line to take the enemy capital of Windhoek before any reinforcements can arrive. But I would argue that at this point, Middle Africa is all but defeated, and we're even making inroads from the western coast. So once Middle Africa falls, and we've got some encircled troops here. Once Middle Africa falls, then the last standing colony actually will be German East Asia. Frankfurt is coming under attack, and tanks are moving in towards the northern positions near Essen. The 6th Königlich Sächsische Infantry is the last defending unit that is combat effective for the defense of the capital. And tanks are already beginning the invasion of the Netherlands and pushing towards Amsterdam in the north, while Essen is about to fall. They might be trying to blow up some bridges near Arnhem. These sort of things happen, but I think we've got the 10th and the 13th heavy, which are now going to take on under General Stephan the last defenders in Essen. Obviously, the terrain is less than ideal for tank operations, but they will not stand much, not much of a chance. Okay, we've completed the research for the improved transport plane, which means we can probably do an engine research. Let's get that underway. I am aware that they've got free civilian factories, but really at this point it does not particularly matter because the Reichspakt is on its last legs. Würzburg has fallen, and I think once we'll see how far is the German Empire. 76%. So we might have to do a bit more combat before they eventually surrender. But Essen is about to fall as the 6th Königlich Sächsische has been driven out by Stephan's tanks. They have resisted to the very end, but it hasn't done them any good. And we are already rapidly pushing through the northern Netherlands towards Amsterdam. How is the invasion going here? The rest of the troops are still arriving, and we are slowly making our way north towards Windhoek and to secure the port ahead of the remaining landing. We've got increasingly large groups of German ships hunting our submarines now. I think what we're going to do is to bring the fleet. How far along are the repairs? I think repairs are probably advanced enough, given that our submarines are getting attacked now by the German fleet in the area. I think I'm going to change the assignment. How many? And there's still enemy shipping in the region here assigned, but I'm not sure from where they operate. They could be operating from Dutch ports. So I think what I'll do. I want to abort that. We'll bring them over to Oldenburg through the canal, and I'm going to start hunting them in the Bay of Biscay. So let's begin sailing out and start hunting down enemy forces near Spain. Meanwhile, Essen has fallen. And I think with that, we're still trying to find out if the government has surrendered or if we have managed to actually catch them. Reports from the front lines are conflicting, so we don't have a clear picture just yet. Meanwhile, the mountain troops are advancing and defeating the last of the German resistance. And with that, the Reichspakt, I believe, has collapsed. The Treaty of Moscow has been signed, and it appears the unthinkable has occurred. So we have caught the government. It appears the unthinkable has occurred. Today, German forces fighting in Europe have finally collapsed under the weight of the invading armies. With nowhere left to run, the Kaiser and his cabinet have met and agreed that a complete surrender was imminent within days. The news has thrown their allies into complete disarray, with the structure offered by the Reichspakt alliance completely evaporating. It is clear that the world order which has existed since the end of the First Weltkrieg is about to come to a fiery end. So Brest-Litovsk has been avenged, and while the Reichspakt has officially collapsed, it seems that fighting still occurs in Germany. Occasional fighting still occurs in Germany, and I do want to see these troops making their way into Windhoek. But I'm also curious now to see where it seems that the Netherlands are still fighting. So I'm curious to see if the fleet is able to catch any of the enemy troops. However, before that was happening, before that could happen, the arms have been called to silence, and the civilian administration has taken over. Which means we now have to redraw the maps of Europe and Africa. The guns have gone silent across Eastern Europe, and the Russian Empire, for now, is officially occupying, well, pretty much all of it, from Sweden across the German possessions, the Austrian area, Italy, and the former Ottoman states. We will have to sort this all out after the last fighting ends, because Germany itself still has organized resistance. German troops are still fighting across the front lines here, so it seems that that resisting troops operating out of Cologne are still active. So that war actually is not yet complete. However, our submarines are currently being chased by remnants of the German fleet. Oh yeah, and obviously operations out of the Iberian regions are still very much in effect. So while the fighting continues, we are trying to minimize the losses in the final days of the war. And I am curious to see if the Baltic fleet can catch these German raiders here that are operating in the area. We've had reports of 2 submarines that have been sunk, and for that it remains to be seen if we can catch the perpetrators. We're scouting for radars are active across the Bay of Biscay, and we're scouting for enemy forces. So we will see. Unfortunately, I think this is out of range of our. Our scout planes. Let me have a look if I can find. Yeah, we've got some scout wings, but I don't think I have an airport in the area that I can actually operate out of. The British airports would probably be the only ones, but no, I can't operate out of there. So yeah, we're on our own. We'll have to rely on the radar and see if we can if we can still catch some of these cruisers and destroyers that have been chasing our submarines here. And there's another destroyer group. So hopefully the Baltic fleet can join this particular battle. There we go. Some of our submarines had been hunting Dutch convoys and were accosted by German destroyers. These destroyers are going to be, and the convoys themselves are going to be sunk to the bottom of the bay. And we will see if any other parts of the High Seas Fleet that still operate out of the Spanish coast is going to come to their rescue. But it doesn't look like. A few of the destroyers have laid smoke and have made their way out. But I think, and actually some of the enemy, some of the High Seas Fleet ships had been spotted on the radar. But by the time we got there, they had already disengaged. So operations remain trying to locate this fleet. Meanwhile, the Marines have arrived in Windhoek, and Middle Africa has capitulated. So the Middle Africa Colonial Federation has announced the total surrender to the Russian Empire. Okay, that is great news, and that means we will see what we can liberate actually, because we have quite a few. We don't have a massive amount of war score. So we might have to see how we can divide this up. The Treaty of Dar es Salaam has been signed, and Russia retains some control over some of the administratively important areas for now. All of this will be resolved in due time, but we have liberated a vast number, as promised, of states across the African region, and have brought an end to the colonial rulers that had been oppressed these countries for so long. So we've got Uganda, we've got Azania, we've got Zambezia, we've got Nyasaland. We've liberated the Congo, Ubangi Shari, Cameroon, Gabon, and a few more small states along the coast. Germany still controls Madagascar, but the war in Europe is about to come to an end, and the Baltic Fleet is still hunting for any kind of remnants of the high seas fleet that had been attacking our shipping in the Bay of Biscay. Meanwhile, I think we have taken Amsterdam, and we are about to clear out the last remaining Dutch positions across the northern parts. Germany itself, still, like I mentioned, has organized resistance. So this resistance is organizing out of Cologne. So we will be taking Cologne, and we will be making a concentrated push into the German center, clearing out any kind of remnants to make it absolutely certain that there's not going to be any future for an independent German state at this point. We've got some exiled divisions, obviously. All of these will have to bring back the African troops at this point. So we've got the 15th Army. We'll bring them into Russian-controlled territory for now. We've got these troops. I think they can all be returned to their respective home countries. So I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to. Yeah, they're counting as encircled because they're currently sailing into territory. So I'm gonna try and return all these divisions to their respective owners, and then we will basically move out of Africa, really, and have we'll just have to go through and clear this all up. We do have false intelligence planting has been completed, but at this stage, I think I can shift all the agents onto resistance oppression. Where do we have resistance? Yeah, especially in the currently occupied areas. Once we have complete peace, then I think we are going to be able to sort things out. There should be some decisions to sort out the whole situation, because we're not planning to occupy all this. We're redistributing land in the liberated territories. That's not what I meant, but I think there will be some decisions to clear this all out. So that should not take particularly long. While Russian troops are fighting the remnants of Reichspakt resistance in Europe, the political situation at home has started to deal with the newly occupied territories. The diplomats have started drafting things, and with the agreement of the Tsar, we will be discussing the fate of we will be discussing of the fate of the occupied areas. So having gained control of new swaths of land, we must now work out what to do with them. Maintaining the current occupation can be expensive and destabilizing, but give us direct access to the riches. Yeah, we're not interested in direct occupation. We will be deciding on the fate of Anatolia. We've destroyed the last remnants of the Turkish state and finally put the Sigmund of Europe in its grave. Our troops now patrol the streets of Ankara, yet we cannot remain as occupiers. A decision will have to be made in regards to the future government of the Turkish people. So for now, we will allow the formation of the Turkish Republic, and with that, Anatolia has become independent, and a new republican government is going to be created, that will deal with the lengthy process of dealing with the remnants of the war and all the fallout that comes from it. The same goes for Africa. We are currently occupying Ghana, so we will be forming the state of the Gold Coast. We'll be forming the state of Kenya, and we'll be forming the state of Nigeria. And with that, the last Russian occupation troops in Africa can pack up. The government powers have been transferred to the local administrations, and the Moscow Accord has held true to its promise, while some of these states have joined, has held true to its promise of liberating the African states from their former colonial masters. And that just leaves the remnants of the German Empire, really, to be dealt with. And I think we have dealt with Cologne. Not sure where exactly they have moved to. Nope, German Empire has capitulated as well. Total surrender has been signed. And Kaiser Wilhelm III has gone into exile, and with that, the last part of the Reichspakt has fallen. I'm not sure about the Netherlands, if we still need to defeat them, but the German Empire is now under Russian control. Germany, up to the French border, is now under Russian occupation, and the same goes for Madagascar. The British have taken some of the smaller islands in the various oceans as a sign of our goodwill, and now it is just a matter of making sure that the Netherlands, as the last standing member, will surrender as well. The 6th Army's tank forces are already en route towards Brussels, and there's relatively little that the Dutch are going to be able to do about this. So this war will come to a rapid end as well. And with that, the Weltkrieg in its totality. Lazistan, wherever that is. Where is Lazistan? Lazistan. Over here. Okay. Is that? Let's see. That is supposed to be under Turkish control. So we're not going to create any friction here with the Georgians. So we will let the Republic of Turkey take care of that, or Turkey, as it will be known in the future. Meanwhile, troops are moving through the Netherlands relatively unhindered, the last defensive lines north of Antwerp. But Ukraine seems to be causing significant troubles for Russia, to nobody's great surprise. In the early days of 1944, Ukraine is in flames. The war may be over, but the fight goes on. This is the slogan of the doomed soldiers, the remnants of the Ukrainian military still willing to put up a fight. From the beginning of our occupation of the south and east of the country, resistance was fierce. Though all of Ukraine was to eventually fall to our forces, the government never fully surrendered, and despite the end of the war and the fall of Germany, resistance only seems to grow. What has thus far been sporadic, unorganized resistance has now coalesced into a single central organization, albeit still operating in separate cells in a decentralized manner. The Ukrainian Union of People's Resistance vows to strike against the Russian occupier as long as they can draw breath. It seems that the USNS is composed of a variety of groups, both nationalist, socialist, and merely anti-Russian. Many of them are based around the remnants of units of the Ukrainian army, but some are built around pre-war terrorist organizations, such as the Ukrainian Revolutionary Liberation Army and Armed Forces of the League of Ukrainian Nationalists. For now, these partisans have been waging a relentless bandit war from the forests of western Ukraine, where they seem to have broad support from the villages. Which means we have now increased resistance in Ukraine. So that's apparently another thing we need to deal with. But first, the triumphant Russian democracy. On this day, 13th of February 1944, one that will be known by future generations as Victory Day, the remaining German forces in Europe signed the official document of unconditional surrender, marking the end of the Great Patriotic War. For years, it seemed like Russian democracy was lost. The election of Savinkov seemed to spell the death of the February Revolution, with the tyrant desecrating its every value. And yet, against all odds, it triumphed. Russian democracy was strengthened and was subjugated to the ultimate goal, the revenge against Germany and the liberation of Eastern Europe. With that accomplished in full, who can say now that we have failed our people? We have a victory for the people, and we've got a few more situations to organize. However, the fate of Djibouti and who is going to control Djibouti? I think Somalia is officially the one who would like, who has claims on it. It's a core of Somalia, so we'll grant it to Somalia. And we have to deal with the Seychelles. India can look after that for now. So the last remaining fight is in the Netherlands, and we will see that we can sort that out. But I do have to look at the organized Ukrainian resistance in the occupied territories. Ideally, I would like to liberate them, as I have said was the goal. But so far, I don't necessarily see an option to do this. I can invite the newly formed states into the Moscow Economic Council, which is absolutely what we're going to do. And other than that, once we're at peace, we can return a few areas of land that we're currently occupying. But Eastern Europe remains to be an interesting case. So we will see what. We'll see what that ends up looking like. But for now, final battle at Brussels, where Dutch bicycle troops are trying to defend the capital against the advancing tank divisions. But Stefan's troops should have no problem of dealing with them from all directions. I think they've been driven out already. So with Brussels fallen, Terneuzen in the north has become the new capital. And it seems Japan has cancelled the non-aggression pact. So there is still a potential for conflict in the east against the Japanese empire. But we will see. We will see what the post-war order is going to look like while we are driving out the last remnants of Dutch bicycle infantry from the north. And the Netherlands have capitulated. And with that, we've got the Netherlands and the Dutch East Indies to deal with as well. And I think that is the last conflict that we were involved in. So now it becomes a work for the diplomats. The war in Europe is over. Russian troops are occupying the former lands of the Reichspakt, and the future will have to be determined. The French Republic has agreed to sign a pact of non-aggression with us. And the same goes for the Dominion of Canada. And with that, while wars still are ongoing between the Americans and the British, as well as the Japanese and the Chinese, the main war in Europe for now is over, and it is now up to Russia to begin to reorganize the political landscape in Europe and to make true her promise of liberating the states. And thus begins the process of liberation. Beginning with the Baltic states, Latvia shall be liberated. Romania, obviously the Romanian Republic, becomes the Romanian people effectively should be given the choice what they want. But for now, we will liberate them as republics, and if they decide that they want to restore the monarchy by peaceful means, then they can do that on themselves. The same goes for Bulgaria. we're going to release the Republican Bulgaria. Serbia will be liberate. We could liberate a united Yugoslavia, although that sounds like a setup for future problems. So I think we'll just liberate Serbia. Serbian monarchy has had a storied history, with the House of Brenovic emerging as princes of an independent Serbia shortly after the 1878 Congress of Berlin. Raised to a king in 1882, their Austrophilic foreign policy drew the ire of pan-Serbian ultranationalists, who staged the bloody palace coup in 1903 and killed King Alexander I. National Assembly then invited the exiled Petar Karađorđević, descendant of an earlier Prince Alexander, deposed by the Obrenovics, and take the throne, reflecting a shift towards a Russophilic foreign alignment. Contrasting with the generally unpopular King Alexander I, King Petar I was fairly popular for respecting constitutional rule and reigning during Serbian victories in the Balkan Wars. Serbia's fortunes took a turn for the worse in the Great War. Crown Prince Alexander I, who effectively took charge of the monarchy after the start of the war, narrowly avoided losing the throne to the Montenegrin prince during peace talks. His father abdicated the throne rather than accepting the separate peace Alexander had lobbied for, and thus Alexander became King Alexander II of Serbia. The ensuing Treaty of Vartholz was deeply unpopular in Serbia, and the rule took an authoritarian turn in 1919, using a minor strike as a pretext for his obznana. With the help of Prime Minister Vojislav Velković, Alexander ruled through the Central Powers, backed by State Party for Serbian Democrats, turning the nation into a de facto royal dictatorship. Just a few years later, however, the king was shot dead in 1925 amid mass protests, throwing the nation into chaos and resulting in the creation of the Republic. His son, Crown Prince Petar, was whisked into exile. The question of the monarchy by and large fell to the wayside in the ensuing years, with territorial revanchism often taking priority. However, with the fall of Belgrade once again to foreign powers in just a generation, the Serbian political scene is back to a crossroads. It will be up to us to guide this new state in the correct direction. We will create the Serbian Republic. That is, we have seen what a widespread monarchy can do. We obviously are leading by example with the Tsar and the Russian constitutional monarchy, but that is a thing that is up for the people to decide, and we give the people the maximum power of decision by turning them into republics, and as such they will be given their liberties to decide their own future. Albania, we will liberate as a republic. Rome. Okay, what do? We can release the Italian Republic, the Italian Federation. We can re-establish the Papal States. Now, granted to Sardinia, yeah, that probably is not going to go well. I think it is time, given the various civil wars that have happened, a federation is probably not a terrible idea, and that gives again people time to heal the wounds from the long period of separation, civil wars, and various disagreements, rather than stuffing it all into one republic and forcing that down. So we'll go with an Italian federation, and they can deal with that. Poland. Poland is on the verge of being wiped off the map of Europe. Once a powerful player in European geopolitics, the three partitions of Poland in the late 18th century annexed Poland-Lithuania in its three neighbors, and only the German victory against Russia in the First Weltkrieg restored it, albeit as a shell of its former self. With the capitulation of authorities in Warsaw to Russian troops, we now control the majority of the country, and accordingly its fate is in our hands. Should we grant Poland its liberty, at least within the bounds of the limited kingdom of the last century? Of course, once we have taken this step, there's nothing stopping us from imposing a government that favors our interests, or allowing this friendly government to realize pan-Slavic dreams of a greater Poland. On the other hand, if our interests demand it, we can follow the example of so many powers before us and hold down the Polish red-white bicolor for good. No, we have liberated Poland, so we will release the Polish Republic. The same thing goes for Sweden. The Swedish Republic will be established, and it will be up to the people to choose their own future. Southern Germany, what can we do? The entire South German region has been brought under our control. Currently, our armed forces are facing some opposition from the local population. We could leave it up to the local governments in the region to take care of any dissent. I think what do we do with Germany is an interesting part. I think a partition of Germany, given that there's tension between the North and the South anyway, we're definitely not restoring the German Empire. I think a southern German state is going to play well into the ambitions of the people in the region, and a Germany that is broken up into smaller constituents is going to pose less of a threat in the future. So we'll be releasing a southern German state. Prussia as well. Brandenburg was the center of gravity of Prussia, and thus the Prussian formed the German Empire. For decades, Berlin has bustled with activity, mostly with the politicians and diplomats of the great powers, but of 1944, with the barked orders and shouts of soldiers, and now enforced quiet under Russian martial law. The end of the former German state comes, almost inevitably, the beginning of a new. A German state based in Berlin would be a powerful contender for reunification of Germany one day, so some in our government have proposed granting Brandenburg and Berlin to a German statelet based on a western city, so that Prussia can never rise again. Others point to the need of a strong Prussian ally to counter our enemies on their borders, and claim that with our military supremacy over Europe, Prussia would never dream of challenging us again. No doubt, of course, the Prussians could appreciate the irony of a good long temporary military occupation. I think we'll release a Prussian state. Again, we will be creating smaller states, and we will see how things turn out in the future. We've got Romandy, and that is, I think, that is French claimed. Yeah, both Switzerland and France have claims over it. So I think this will go to Switzerland, because I don't necessarily trust the French Republic just yet. So having the Swiss taking control of Geneva and Lausanne sounds like a good idea. So we got that sorted. The fate of northern Germany, and we can. Before the Prussians dominated Europe, they subjugated Germany, and before they subjugated Germany, they started with the North German Federation. Now the Russian Empire has stripped even northern Germany away, and it is up to the Russian Empire to determine what will become of the lower Saxon lands. We could create a puppet state based in Hamburg or Brunswick, relocating the center of German political life westwards for the first time in centuries. Alternatively, we could decide to favor one of our other German allied states, possibly bolstering their legitimacy and power to reunite Germany themselves one day. Can we afford to take the chance? Or for the security of Europe, must our soldiers occupy North Germany for the foreseeable future? No, we are not looking at occupation, but we're looking to break up the empire into smaller states, which will significantly reduce their possibility of uniting for an imperial revanchism again. So North German state will be released. We've got the fate of the Netherlands. There we can we'll set up the Dutch Republic. Same story again. And then we've got the Levant. We can release Syria. That's what we will do. And that means a small Syrian state allied with us is now going to be operating there. We apparently have some lands occupied in the east. So that's Turkestan, is it? Xinjiang translates to New Frontier and has gone by many names over the years. Chinese control over the region dates back to the Han Dynasty, which established outposts to guard the valuable Silk Road trade. Chinese control over the region has been challenged, however, by local uprisings, including one staged by loyalists to the Kumul Khanate in the north and Uyghur rebels in the south seeking an independent East Turkestan. After our successful campaign in Xinjiang, we now have to ask the task to establish a new local administrative authority to restore peace. However, there are several options. So we can liberate East Turkestan or give it to the Qing government. The Qing government currently has other problems because, so I think we will simply liberate East Turkestan. And yeah, we'll make that an independent state, and then they can decide their own future. That leaves Indonesia, which used to be the Dutch East Indies, and they also shall be liberated as their own country, and Indonesia is free. Now, this doesn't quite look like I wanted it to. So what happened all the rest of it? Especially Ukraine is a bit of a problem as well that we will still have to deal with. So at least now that we are at peace, I think we will have the triumph of the restored empire happening, and that removes the Unger right-wing and left-wing Unger parts. And then I think we will be having some options here of what we're going to be doing next. That said, I am somewhat concerned about Japan canceling the Pact of Non-Aggression and their imperial ambitions in China. We will see what that brings. But for now, Africa has been liberated. Europe is still a diplomatic patchwork that will need further work to be decided, especially the central parts around here, the former Austro-Hungarian Empire. We're still occupying the Rhineland, and we're still occupying part of the Netherlands. So for now, troops will be returning home. The war is over. We will have a victory parade, and the world is not yet in a new world order, but the Moscow Accord occupies Europe as well as Central Asia, and is the primary most powerful faction in the world at this point. What the future brings is to be seen.